What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is another high volume games episode pod. It's not part of the real pod, but we just have been getting so much news in the past few days that we are just going to get into it. And we're back. So today, the 2023 Pro Baseball in-season card set for History Maker Baseball came to my door, and so I thought today would be a fun time to just gonna lower that a bit. Just a fun time to talk about the card set and then talk about the Miami Marlins team itself, because if you know me, I am a huge Miami Marlins fan, and I play as the Marlins in every season that I get of History Maker Baseball. This is the first time I've ever had the in-season card set. So for those of you who don't know, I got it right here. Let's do it. There we go. History Maker Baseball. It's from Play Games. And it is truly an awesome baseball game. You basically, every player has qualities based on their real life stats, and then based off of those qualities, when you roll the dice, you're going to check on pitchers' qualities, batters' qualities, and depending on all those situations, you're going to get a result, and that's going to you keep going throughout the game. And there's two types of sets. There's the regular season set. Now there's also a fictitious league, in case you didn't want to play as MLB. So there's your fictitious set, the Baseball League of America, and then there's the Pro Baseball season, which has all the players that have ever done that did 50 at bats in a season or 10 innings pitched. But in this 2023 Pro Baseball in season card set, you don't get everybody. You get the important people of the first half of the season, so the 2023 season. So I'm going to show you. Every card set comes in a perforated, paper. And so Keith this year has, I think maybe last year, but I can't be guaranteed that. Like I said, this is the first one. I think it might have been last year, but he changed the size of the cards. I wish I had my previous cards, but I emptied them out to get set for these. One of the best parts about Play Games days is when your card set comes in the mail and you have uncarding. You fold these up, you get them all set, you put them in your plastic sheets like these. I got a whole thing set up for that. They're bigger. These are much smaller than the previous ones. Keith said they kind of remind you of the baseball card you would get out of a Cracker Jack box back in the day. And I love this new size, or I love this size of this, because I usually keep the old History Maker Baseball box as a way to, keep all the teams together. And even then, all those major league cards with the size that they were in, it's very tough. But these nice smaller cards and less players, because you're getting the top 12 batters and top 12 pitchers of each team, it makes it so much easier to keep them together. So I'm really looking forward to it. The biggest difference in and this is because not only for sizing and spacing, but also, in the NL, we don't have a pitcher batting anymore. So the pitchers just have pitching stats. The batters just have batting stats. The only real difference, Shohei Ohtani gets 2 cards because he's got a batting card and a pitching card. But now I'm going to take a look at the 2023 Miami Marlins. who I'm having a great season. Now, first of all, like I said, I've been playing this game for a while now, and I've had the card sets from 2018 till now. But this is the first season that I've went with the in season because this is the first time I've got a team that I'm happy about. There was a running joke, and there's a player that I'm going to talk about. There's a running joke between Steve Tower and I over, how bad the cards were for like the 2018 Marlins, and so when we're gonna go through this lineup because, like I said, there's 12 of each. So we're gonna go right down the roster. I'll tell you, I'm not gonna go and tell each quality about each one, but if I see something that catches my eye or talk about them in real life, we'll go with that. But we're gonna start off. The first player is Nick Fortes, our catcher. Young kid, not a strong card, but he's had a tough year. First baseman is Yuli Gurriel. What a pickup he was! Minor league contract, and he hasn't really started, but he has just made plays. He's done the veteran, player that he is. The next one on the list, the second baseman, Luis Arias, the current NL leader in batting average. At one point was looking at 400, but this is the card that I wanted to kind of joke because I know Steve's going to watch this. But so Luis Arias is a champion. He's a semi-scrapper. He's semi-eager, but he's got a semi-good eye. And I know people are like, what does that mean? Well, in History Maker Baseball, I think the combination is when you roll the 3 dice, I think it's 3, 4, 5. There's always the question, does the person have a good eye? If he had a good eye, it walks. Well, because especially my 2018, when Steve and I were playing this a fair amount, none of my players had a good eye. Everyone was a whiffer. There was no chance. Nobody was going to get a walk from that. But I finally have, if I get the dot, I have my first ever good eye. Shortstop is going to be Joey Wendell. Okay. Again, not the best card. The good thing about Joey Wendell's card, same as Yuri Gurriel's card, is the experience to the icon. And that's a good thing. We've got some icons on this team. Again, 2018 Marlins, and a lot of the Marlins teams, most of the experience chart, is going to be prospect, semi-prospect, or neutral. There are not many icons on the Marlins for the longest time, but we've got some guys who have now been there for a while. This next card, sad. Gene Segura. We got him from the Phillies. He had just a struggle year. So his card is not very good. But he was traded. I really feel bad about Gene Segura's story, because he was all set. He was in uniform. He was set to start, and then they traded him to the Guardians for Josh Bell, who we'll talk about later. The Guardians, within 10-15 minutes maybe, released him. They were really trying to dump Josh Bell's contract, the $16 million, and Segura had $8 million on his, so they saved $8 million, but they didn't need Segura, so they just released him. And I felt terrible about a guy who was dressed to play, and then next thing you know, he's out of a job within an hour. But I did see him on Twitter, for a guy who's still going to get paid $8 million. He was on a boat, I'm assuming in Miami, just because of the way you looked at the water and the buildings and stuff. It looked like he was still on a boat and he was just having the best time. So, maybe it's a good thing. So the next one up on the list is Brian De La Cruz. Brian De La Cruz, what a pickup. Kim Ng has done so good as far as trades for the Marlins, and Brian De La Cruz was one, because we gave up Yimi Garcia, who was our closer at the time, to Houston for this minor league player, Brian De La Cruz. And since then, he's done very well. Skip Schumacher, the new manager, wanted to get him 500 at-bats this year. He's having a pretty decent season. And he's got a good card. Out of the first row of these cards, besides Arias, Ryan De La Cruz has got the second best card. Semi-hero, slugger, semi-eager, and a semi-whiffer. The only thing is he's semi-stoic and semi-prospect, so those can come back to hurt you. Next player on the list may be the most frustrating player in the... No, he is the king, but, he's just... every time you get really psyched about him, he gets hurt. But it's Jazz Chisholm Jr. Jazz has a decent card here. He's got semi-home run king, semi-eager, whiffer, but he's got an active base running, and he's the only player on this roster that has full active. And again, 2018, I had no actives. Actually, I had no normals either. Everybody was either stoic or semi-stoic. So it's good that I have someone, if you're playing the full game, you can, choose to, get the steals going and all that. When you're playing in Express, I don't think the active is as much a factor. I think it is a little bit, but the next card is Jesus Sanchez, another, guy that we got from Tampa Bay who, I remember Jar Oxenspoon talking about being at Coors Field when he hit the 496-foot home run. He's got a decent card. He's a slugger, The next one up is Jorge Soler, and I like his card because Jorge Soler last year, I think Jorge Soler should be at least in the conversation for comeback player of the year, because he had such a hard year last year. I don't know what his 2022 card was, but I can't see it being good because it was so bad of a year. And this year he's already over 25 home runs. But this card truly shows what kind of player he is, because he's semi-utility, which is not a good thing. He's a slugger, he's a semi-home run king, and he's a semi-whiffer, which means he's going to either hit a home run or or maybe a double or something, or strike out. Next one, very sad case here. Garrett Cooper, first base. Garrett Cooper, love him. Been with the team. He was, up until 2 weeks ago, he was the longest tenured Marlin on the team. He was the only one from the old roster. He's a semi-home run king, semi-eager whiffer. So again, nice, strong, but probably going to strike out a lot. But I only get to keep that card till the trade deadline because they traded him to San Diego for Ryan Weathers. Next player, my favorite player if I'm playing MLB The Show, is John Birdie. John Birdie's got an interesting card. Now, here's where I have a little, and not against Keith or Travis, who, I think it was Travis. I read the message of who helped in setting these cards up. But nothing against them because they're absolutely right. But I think John Birdie is the semi-active, and it's Skip Schumacher's fault. Sorry. It's because John Birdie last year, I'm sure he was probably active in the 2022 card because John Birdie led the league in steals last year. But for some reason, Schumacher does not want to steal bases. So John Birdie, only Jazz Chisholm has had steals. John Birdie has, I think, maybe a handful for a guy who, again, led the league last year. And the last batter of the Marlins is Jacob Stallings, whose card is terrible. But if you look at his stats, Jacob Stallings came over last year, did terrible. Came over this year, did terrible. I don't see him coming back next year. But yeah, sad sack, scrapper, and whiffer. He is not going to get much. And I probably won't play him much. See, you have 12 batters to put 9 on the field. I think you're gonna have three, and your bench would technically probably be Gurriel, Birdie, and Stallings. But what I will say is, you know, because I said not every player is on here, and you're getting your 12 best, basically the 12 with the most at bats, stuff like that. I feel this is a very good depiction of the Marlins as far as batters go. I think the only person who's missing, and again, he would probably be 13th on the list. Again, I don't think he's missing from the top 12. I think he's just, the only one that I could put in. And again, the great part about Keith's pages is we've got these blank pages, so we can always fill them in. But the only missing batter I feel on the Marlins that could be here is Garrett Hampson. But again, I'm betting if it was 13, he would probably be the 13th. I could, if I desperately felt like I needed to play him, I could put him in. There's a how-to set, there's everything, but I don't know. I think this is a perfectly good team right here. So let's go to our pitchers. This first pitcher just makes me sad. It's the 2022 reigning Cy Young Award winner, Sandy Alcantara. Why am I sad? He's got a semi-workman. The ace is not there. The star is not there. Now, again, this is 2023 first half, and he had such a rough first half. I think he's coming out of it, but yeah, no, he does not deserve the ace or the star with a 4-10 record at the time. I think he's now 5-10 because he just had a great outing against the Yankees. He's doing amazing against the AL East as far as the Red Sox, the Rays, the Yankees. He went three games, 25 innings, 3 earned runs. Like, he had an amazing them, but he did terrible against everyone else. So it's a little sad to see Sandy Alcantara with a semi-workman rating. Jesus Luzardo. I made a joke a few years back when we traded for him to Keith, actually to the Play Games community, that Jesus Luzardo should have had 2 cards. One that was him without glasses and him with glasses, because there was such a discrepancy when he would actually go to the mound with glasses on and without. And this year, I'm very happy with his card, and I'm very happy for him because it seems like he's finally he was a Mel Stottlemyre Jr. project. They traded for him to Oakland. They figured we're going to give Luzardo to Mel, and we're going to get him working. And I think this year he's finally grown into that, and he's got a very nice card, semi-star, flash, control. That is a great card. Next up, gotta love him, Braxton Garrett. He is kind of never really in the talk for being in the starting 5, but he's been in the starting 5 for the last few years because of injuries and all that, and he's got a nice little card, flash and double control. We'll take that. Edward Cabrera. Edward Cabrera has all the tools imaginable to become a star. He's just, for something's missing. He's just struggled. Right now, he's in AAA, and his card represents that. He's a semi-workman. He's got flash, but he's also semi-wild. And then we got the phenom, Yuri Perez, who's going to have the strongest card of us all because his first half season was amazing. Then the Marlins made the mistake to shut him down because he's only 20 years old, I think. Maybe even 19. He's a young kid, but they shut him down and then put him, like a month later, decided to bring him back up because Trevor Rogers hadn't come back and Edward Cabrera's tough season. So he struggled against the Yankees a few days ago or yesterday. But he's got ace, flash, and semi-control. So that's a good card. And then we're going into our relievers. AJ Puck, closing it out. I want to say great things about AJ Puck. I think he's going to be great. He's struggling right now, but I think they signed Rogers. I mean, they signed Robertson, they signed Lopez, or they traded for Robertson and Lopez, and I think that's going to help get AJ. He's not going to be the ninth inning guy, but he's going to get less pressure situations, and he'll get better. He's got an iffy card. He's got double control, which is amazing, but he's also a semi-workman. Huascar Brozoban. He's good, decent card and a very good reliever. He's been solid all year. I like him. Tanner Scott. We got him from Baltimore. He's got a very good card. Dylan Floro. Dylan Floro. Was going to be the closer the last couple years. I think he did okay, but he just, he wasn't the ninth inning guy. He was traded to the Minnesota Twins with a few days before the deadline. So I get this card for half with his icon. Andrew Nardi having a heck of a year. He just came back from the injured reserve, or the injured list. But I know he had, when I saw him win at Boston when they beat the Red Sox, and he had won, and he was already 6-1 at that point. So he's having a great year, and he's got a really good card. This is going to be probably the relief pitcher. Him and maybe Okert will be probably in Express, where you're generally picking one reliever to represent the bullpen. Nardi's card, Okert's card are probably going to be those star players, because they're decent cards. Nardi is star, double flash, semi control. That's great. Okert star, double flash, control, semi star, semi control, double flash, semi icon. So he's got a very solid card. And the last but not least is Brian Hoeing, who is going to be a mix, because he's spent the year kind of doing everything. He started a few times. He has been in the bullpen. He's been down in the minors. He doesn't have the strongest card, but he can be that starter. If one of these five that I have, including Edwin Cabrera, if one of these five struggle, Brian Hoeing can be in there, or if one of them gets hurt. So that is the 24 players. Again, I feel the pictures are very accurate. Again, because Rogers would have been a good pick, but Rogers has been hurt all season, and Rogers is probably not going to throw the ball again this season, so he's done. And Johnny Cueto now is going to, he'll show up in the full set because he, the way he's going now. But Johnny Cueto missed literally the entire first half. He pitched the first game, and then he didn't come back until basically 3 weeks ago. So that's why he's not there. So this is a very, very good. Now, like they said, 26 players on a full roster. This is 24 players. Again, I would probably add Garrett Hampson, and that's about it. I don't know who on the pitching I would add. But what a representation, and what a fun team this is going to be. I can't wait to do it. The one thing I did want to talk about now is trade deadline. So the Marlins were very active in the trade deadline. Oh, I actually pulled out right to the team that I was looking for, which is nice. So they made a bunch of trades. The biggest ones were the last minute. There was an announcement that a few trades had been made, but about 20 minutes before the deadline, Jake Burger was traded, and I have Jake Burger's card in the Chicago White Sox. So once we get to the trade deadline, he could come over. Look at this! I just got a thing on my phone. John Birdie just doubled in real life to take the Marlins take the lead over the Astros. I love John Birdie. So we have Jake Berger's card. He's a very, very weird card because he's got everything. He's a utility, which is not good. He's a semi-slugger. He's a home run king. He's semi-eager. He's a whiffer, iron fielding, semi-stoic, semi-prospect. It's like, oh. Then we'll go to Cleveland. Cleveland has Josh Bell. That's who we traded for Segura. It was Segura and Khalil Watson, who was a ball player, one of the best prospects we had. We traded Jake Eater for Jake Berger, but Jake Berger and Josh Bell have done so well in this first week. They brought much needed life to the Marlins. The next one on the list would be Minnesota. We're just going to check. Here's Minnesota, and Jorge Lopez is here. So we can get him as a reliever. Like I said, he was traded for Floro, so those two will just get switched out. Then the next two are in the National League, so we just got to pull back further. The New York Mets are right here. David Robertson is here. Now, what a card we're going to get when we get him. Ace, Flash, and semi-control with an icon. That's going to be a huge help. And then the last team, and we do get to get him now. It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to really depend when I go through the playthrough on how I feel about what we're going to do. But San Diego, Ryan Weathers. Ryan Weathers is a young kid. His dad used to pitch for the Marlins, but he pitched 10 games for the Padres so far this year and went 1-6. But they traded for him. He is the new Mel Stottlemyre Jr. project. So I don't think we're going to see him much for the rest of this season in the MLB. I think what's going to happen is he's going to come in spring, and Mel is going to work with him, and then he'll start fighting for, possibility of moving up. But we'll get Ryan's card in the offseason or the trade deadline with a struggler, semi-flash, and semi-control. The question is, do I use him? Because at least at the beginning I'm going to be doing a full 162 season with the Express. And the question is, at the beginning, I'm going to be doing, like in game 1 in the real season, Sandy pitched. So Sandy's going to pitch in game 1. And I'm going to try to at least semi-stick to the order unless there's a real big issue. So when we get to, down the road, do I keep it going? I guess it's going to be, how does the team do? Like if the team's struggling, do I start switching it up? So I don't know if Ryan Weathers is going to see much action with our Marlins, but we'll see. So let me just show you a couple cool little things in the back. I showed you the blank pages. The game also comes with, here's the fun part. So like I said, 12 players from the batting, 12 players from pitching came through. Some of the teams, the 12, out of the 12 players, the catcher might not be the star. Like they may not have gotten, as many at bat. So there's an actual page with a bunch of catchers throughout the league. And can I get a shout out for 2021 Marlins, Sandy Leone and Chad Wallach? Both were in the Marlins in that year. Chad Wallach representing the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and Sandy Leone representing the Texas Rangers. That's cool to see them on these cards. But also you get 48 umpires because they will affect the game. So with their different qualities. Now they have different type qualities than a regular player. They have respected, questionable. You know who's not on here? The guy who called 11 missed calls during the Yankees Marlins game 2 days ago, Angel Hernandez. I'm sure he's somewhere in this house. I'm sure I've got his card, but I just had to because of that. That was a farce. All right. So if you want to see more about History Maker Baseball, which again, we're gonna throughout this whole pod, we're going to talk about games, and we're going to talk about my favorite games, and History Maker Baseball is legitimately my favorite baseball game, and it is very high on my list. We are definitely going to talk about it. I'd really like to have Steve Tower on when we do talk about that eventually, because it's even more his favorite game. So where I always say, as far as Play Games go, like Red, White, and Blue is my favorite, and History Maker Baseball is probably right at second. Wrestling is also very good, but I know this History Maker Baseball is Steve's favorite, so I would, I know he would have a lot to say. Plus, we have had a, Marlins Red Sox rivalry, so I would definitely like to have him on when we talk about, History Maker Baseball. But if you'd like to check it out, head on over to play.com and check out not only this in-season card set, but the game and all the rest of the games that play. Again, they're my favorite company of games. I have, I think, 15 games between the Play, the Play Classic and the Play Now. So, just to say, I'm a fan. But yeah, if you want to check it out, go over there and check it and take a gander. And I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I'm a huge Marlins fan, and we probably are going to have some of these games. Once I got my camera ready, I can't get, there we go. I have my camera ready. I'm just missing the cord, which you can see there's a mess over here. I'm just missing the cord that goes from here to the capture card. Once I get that, we can actually start playing games, and we may do some 2023 in-season Baseball Express games. So hopefully we'll get that soon. Regular pod coming up tomorrow. Funny enough, I thought I was not going to get 30 minutes out of this, and I did. Otherwise, I would have done this on Thursday and pushed everything back. But real pod is coming to on Thursday, where we will talk about the Lakeshore Limited Amtrak ride that I took from Boston to Chicago. The ins and outs, the good and the bad of being on a train for 22 hours in coach. So till then, I'll see you all later. Hope you have a great evening. Have a great night, everyone.